What's up, Lions of Liberty fans? You can now support this show on Patreon and get exclusive access to bonus audio and video content, including Conspiracy Corner, Degenerate Gamblers, bonus segments with guests, and so much more. Head on over to patreon.com/Lions of Liberty.
Welcome to Electric Libertyland, here on the Lions of Liberty podcast, your weekly shot of culture, comedy, and liberty with your host, Brian McWilliams.
Hey, welcome to Electric Libertyland, episode number 117. That's 117 for those of you who know to put those numbers together and say them out loud, meaning you can find all the show notes for today's episode at lionsofliberty.com/ELL117. Now, you may have noticed we are doing some mixing up of the format here. We are introducing our Libertarians in Living Rooms Drinking Liquor shows. We're each going to do one once a month, and this happens to be my turn. It's our time down here, One-Eyed Willie. And I happen to have some Willies with me. They have two eyes, sadly. I tried to get at least one of them to gouge one eye out before the episode, but no such luck on a Sunday. But I am joined by two of my fellow Liberty Lions here. First and foremost, I'll bring in the godfather of Liberty, one Howie Snowden. What's up, Howie?
Happy to be here. A lot of big news coming out recently.
I know. We literally lucked out. You know, Mark did his, he recorded his show. Or no, Odie recorded his show. They got the shit news. We got the top of the pops news to talk about here, getting into this whole Mueller investigation.
Yeah, but, I just hope that some of the details slow down before this airs.
Yeah, I know, right? But before I bring in the next guest, what are you drinking since this is a drinking episode?
I'm just drinking Guinness.
A classic
Per
move.
usual.
Yeah. How many are you in today? Just one? You starting late?
No, this is my first.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, drink quickly. We need to make sure that you get extra drunk. and maybe we'll even wrap in some Degenerate Gamblers since you complained about not being on that show ever. We'll make some bets on whether or not there'll be actual collusion talk later on, even at this report. But
okay. Yeah, I could bet on that, but I was just going to say, I don't watch basketball, so I'm like, damn it. This is the worst time of year for me to be asked about gambling.
Yeah, this is far more interesting anyway. But before we get into the talk of collusion or lack thereof, I'll bring in the other man about town, Liberty Rico. Hey, Rico.
Hey, I wish you could say it's good to be here like Howie did, but I'd be lying. And who wants to lie during Lent? Not
You'd rather
me.
be back in Schlong Kong, as I believe you referred to it. What were you doing over there, by the way? Was it to go get those that line of dildo modes made that you were working on?
Yeah, I'm a millionaire now. Dildo millionaire.
One dick at a time.
There were some people celebrating St. Patty's Day over there.
Oh, nice. Were they all bright red in the face because of the allergy, the Asian allergy to alcohol?
No, there are a lot of white people in Hong Kong too, and I'm still getting over the bird flu that I contracted over there. So
surprised they let you back.
A whole bunch of water. Yeah, it's not really that hard to get into Hong Kong. Yeah, you just walk through the thing, and they're like, "All right, cool."
Speaking of dildos, I think I saw. So I guess Dianne Feinstein was like playing like, "Why can't we have gun control laws like New Zealand's passing?" Mm-hmm. I think I saw online someone's trying to like raise money to buy like dozens and dozens of boxes of these like 3-foot dildos to like send to her office.
Well, I mean, I can say I could get behind that. I would get behind that if regardless. It can be for any topic. Really send to anyone at any time. And I'm like, I will throw in $5 towards sending a giant 3-foot long dildo to that person's office.
Yeah, that GoFundMe won't take much time to hit the mark.
So, Rico, you're not drinking? Is that what I heard now? Because you're trying to get over a cold?
Yeah, I've been really sick. I had quite the week. I was in Hong Kong, and then I was in Guam, and then I was in Honolulu, and then Fresno to kind of top it off. Cherry on the Sunday. That's their city's slogan.
What is it?
No, cherry on top of the Sunday. I made that up. It's not really Fresno.
I could believe it, though. Honestly, I would not be surprised. We're the cherry on the Sunday state or city.
Yeah, it's not fun. So, yeah, I was pretty deathly ill. Not really, but I was quite sick, and I'm sure that all the people sitting next to me on the plane did not appreciate my nonstop sneezing.
Dude, I was really sick on Tuesday and Wednesday too, but you have no idea how good it feels to finally feel better and have a beer.
Yeah, that is a good feeling. I was sick a couple weeks ago. I traveled to Florida to visit my parents, and I was fucking crazy sick. And yeah, same thing. I was on the plane, just like coughing and snorking and snot dripping out of my nose. It's fun. Good times. But I am drinking today. I am drinking a Bloody Mary, although I had to do a ghetto style because I have no Worcestershire and I have no base seasoning, which I love. And I tried to mix like liquid smoke in with it with some like soy sauce, and it really does not taste good. So
you didn't use my Bloody Mary mix recipe?
I didn't realize I was going to be drinking this until today when I was like, I'm a little hungover. I could go for Bloody Mary on a Sunday.
Hey, Brian, can you put that Bloody Mary mix recipe in the show notes?
Oh, yeah. The horrible one?
Rico's one. I'm interested in trying it.
Rico emailed that out upon request. It actually comes with every dildo. It's got the recipe printed on the side of it.
You have to drink it out of dildos. It's the final step. But it's worth it.
Haul it out. It's like the ram's horn that the Vikings used to drink out of.
That was my inspiration.
All right. Well, speaking of giant hollowed out dicks, let's talk about Mueller, because there's a dick that has been thoroughly hollowed. Every inch of cum has been jerked out of that cock. Talking about this leading into the final release of this report, which had something like, I was reading about it today, it was like 500 hours of interviews, and they talked to 500 people and all this bullshit digging that they did to release a report basically saying there is no collusion, there's zero evidence that there ever was collusion, and also that there's not enough evidence for obstruction. However, in the meantime, some like 30 people, I think, have been indicted on various crimes, procedural crimes or banking crimes and all this other horse shit. So, gentlemen, I'll start with Howie. What's your take on this whole scenario? And what have you been seeing online? What are the reactions from the shrieking masses in response?
That's been glorious and beautiful. But I was just actually reading the letter that Attorney General Barr wrote, detailing some of the information. And the first part was about Russian collusion, where they determined no one in the Trump campaign had anything to do with Russian collusion. Then the second part talked about obstruction with justice. And I guess Mueller decided that he wasn't going to make a determination, and he said some shit about we don't have proof of a crime, but this doesn't exonerate the president either. So what they did...
How big a check, by the way, did CNN have to write him? They're like, we will make you rich beyond your dreams. Just give us something to latch onto that we can still bullshit.
So instead, he sent evidence for or against, like obstruction of justice, and said, hey, Department of Justice, you decide. And so Attorney General Barr and Rod Rosenstein went through it and said, they don't think there's enough evidence to prove that there's any obstruction of justice for all the stuff that happened in public view when there's no underlying crime. But yeah, I wanted to ask Rico, if there is no crime, how do you obstruct justice?
Exactly, Howie. That's what I was going to ask too. It makes no sense.
It's preposterous. I guess the closest they're trying to come to the obstruction is to say firing Comey. But Comey is a subordinate member of the executive branch. Trump can fire him for whatever he wants. The executive can't really obstruct justice into he's the wish my brain was working a little bit better today. I mean, obviously he's the head he's the head of the executive branch. How can he obstruct himself, basically?
Right.
If he was witness tampering or destroying evidence, that's one thing, but he has every right to fire Comey, and especially when there was a legitimate basis based on Rosenstein's own memo.
Yeah, so, Rosenstein, it's come out wanting to get rid of him before that. He recommended he fire Comey, and then he appoints a special investigator because he followed his recommendation. Fire Comey. And
Comey actually should have been fired for him going to Trump at the very beginning, and the way they maneuvered that whole dossier, where it was so blatantly just fabricated. Bullshit. And then
they were trying to blackmail Trump pretty much, look, can you believe this? But don't worry, that won't get out,
Yeah. Comey should have been
Don't worry,
fired.
we won't be mailing any of your mistresses notes trying to commit suicide.
Classic J. Edgar Hoover.
Yeah.
For him to go to Trump and not tell him that, oh yeah, this is because Hillary Clinton hired a firm who hired a British spy who has ties to the KGB. That part wasn't put in his briefing to the president is fucking absurd. So he should have been fired 100 times out of 100 for going to Trump with that and not giving all that information.
So those
and
things
he should be indicted, yeah.
Those things you just mentioned. So Trump didn't tweet for almost 2 days.
I love that. I love the trolling of not tweeting now. He tweets when he trolls, or he trolls when he tweets, and now just the dead silence was.
It was so smart to not give anything for the Sunday news shows. But this morning he tweeted good morning, and he just tweeted something that was no collusion, no obstruction, total exoneration.
Yeah.
Something like there needs to be investigation into this illegal takedown attempt.
Yeah.
So,
and by the way, did you notice
there will be one?
The Friday afternoon, the Mueller report, or the Mueller report, they released it as they do with all shit that they don't want to get covered, I guess because it was an embarrassment, but they put it on Friday night. And you'd think Trump would have been put it out Monday morning then, because the guy's confident that it's not going to.
During March Madness, too.
Right, yeah, exactly. Everybody's out drunk at the bar watching basketball.
Was there any indication that it would have been released Friday? I was surprised. I knew there were signs that it was coming to an end, but then it was just done and released. Yeah. It was pretty surprising to me.
I think we kind of expected by the end of the month.
Okay. I thought maybe they were talking May or June. So the suddenness of it kind of surprised me, but definitely not the conclusions. I mean, anyone who really thought that they were going to find that he colluded with Russia to somehow steal an election and was still in power for 2 years after the investigation started is fucking a retard. There's no other way to put it.
But now that everybody knows, now that everyone knows that this is bullshit and it was Hillary Clinton paying a British spy working with Kremlin contacts and all these FISA court abuses and then spying on an opposition campaign, unmasking U.S. citizens' names, all this shit, somebody's head's going to have to roll for this.
Well, I don't understand how the Obama administration and Obama himself aren't under the spotlight right now of you guys committed crimes. You spied illegally on a presidential candidate and you tried to undermine his election. So if anybody's guilty of election hacking and undermining our democratic systems here, it's the fucking Obama administration. Yet I don't hear anybody talking about going after them or indicting Obama or going after his whole staff.
It's true, and he's still got a lot of people in places of power. So I think if anybody's got to take a hit for this, that they'd throw Hillary Clinton on their bus. The Clintons are done. They can't do anything for the power elite anymore. I think if there has to be a sacrificial lamb, that's what makes sense to me. I don't know.
It would be awesome. And didn't they say that they were I heard something recently saying that they wanted to reopen, I think, investigation into the Clinton Foundation. One of the senators was talking about reopening that.
I think that might even be going on already.
I think it is. So
that other investigation that's been going on. I forget the details of that. Remember they did a report
the Inspector General report.
I think that has to do with the Clinton Foundation as well.
No, that was more about other matter. It wasn't directly about the Clinton. It was kind of about the FBI, how Rosenstein and McCabe and all of them were handling classified information. There was a lot of elements to that too, but it may have touched briefly upon the Clinton Foundation, but I don't think it was looking directly into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
One thing that I was reading comments, there was one comment who's how do we know the Mueller report exonerating Trump of collusion wasn't hacked by the Russians? I hope one of the Democrats legitimately says that. Well, we haven't seen the whole report, so we can't be sure that it's actually, we haven't heard from Mueller.
Well, by the way, now they're talking about they want to bring in Barr to testify, which doesn't make any sense. They're we want you to explain why, how you found there's no obstruction and blah, 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 and bring him in. But shouldn't you just bring in Mueller? Because he's the guy that put the report together in the first place.
They're calling to bring Mueller in. They want
Yeah.
I think it's the House.
I mean, it's all just it's just so fucking ridiculous that they're even continuing this ridiculous charade, which has cost $25 million, by the way. This whole fucking investigation, $25 million taxpayer dollars, undermining the president for the last 2 years plus, because what started before he was even in office. And they're still continuing it. It's like, do these people not know when to just cut bait? Like, find something else.
Dude, they're going to keep it up for another 2 years.
Which it's going to be to their detriment, though. I mean, if they keep harping on this, it's making Trump look better and better every day because he just keeps racking up wins.
Well, they're going to look into every element of his financing. There's still people that are like complaining that he didn't release his tax returns, like he's hiding something.
Right.
Do these people really think that if he conspired with Russia to do illegal activities, he would have reported it on his tax return?
Put that in my main checking account. That has my name on it. And can you put collusion in the memo?
What the fuck is wrong with people? It's amazing.
It's so ridiculous that instead of like, we have a crime and we need to investigate it, it's like, we need to find a crime that this guy did. So let's look through everything. It's like the IRS has his tax filings. If they think there was something wrong, I'm sure they'd go after him.
Yeah, very good point. Yeah, the IRS is like, we're going to let him skate on these $70 million in crimes.
Yeah, the IRS has been trying to get a hold of Mueller for 2 years. Like, he reported the collusion on his 2017 W-2s. Why won't anyone call us back?
He also, on the back of his tax return, he confesses to killing a guy and fucking his body. I'm telling you, it's all here. Yeah, it's all so crazy. But I mean, I greatly enjoyed seeing all these Democrats and all these progressive nutbags try to talk themselves into the fact that it's not over, like the fight is not over yet, and they'll find it, or talk themselves into somehow that the indictments themselves that have nothing to do with Trump, that aren't connected to the campaign at all, that have to do with like I said, banking or perjury, are somehow a signifier that they are still right, and that all along they were on the right track, and Trump's still this maniac in league with Russia. I mean,
so there was one thing that I read that I thought was amazing. So Manafort was obviously pled guilty on these. He didn't register as a foreign agent, right? For Ukraine. Apparently, Tony Podesta retroactively filed as a foreign agent like months after the fact. And so he's not being prosecuted because he was the exact same scenario as Manafort, except he registered as a foreign agent right before Manafort got indicted or something.
Wow, that is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything Manafort did that Tony Podesta hasn't done. I mean, these are all things that any of these like scumbag DC lobbyist insider people, you could get on any of them if you looked hard enough.
Oh yeah, well the fact that Flynn got indicted for that, that one count of whatever bullshit they got him on, that was the most ridiculous thing. Of all the indictments, that by far is the most ridiculous.
Rico, do you know what's going on with that? Because I know that like he had pled guilty. I think just because he couldn't fucking afford to fight anymore. Yeah. But then they were like, they kept delaying and pushing back the sentencing, and the judge is like, "Are you sure you understand what you're doing?" and all this.
Well, it sounded like they may have tried to reopen or withdraw the plea because of new information that came to light about some of Mueller's tactics and investigative practices, and it seemed like the judge was going to consider it, but it's generally really hard to get a court to agree to withdrawing a plea. So I think what happened is they just the judge gave an indication, well, we're not going to let you withdraw the plea. So he's going to be sentenced going forward. I wouldn't be surprised if
I was surprised like at work, I'd see people like walking by the TV when it was on when Manafort was getting sentenced, and like these women were like so pissed off that he didn't get like longer. Like it's like he didn't kill somebody or he didn't hurt anyone really, and they're like, "Oh, only this many years? What the fuck?"
He's like 70 and he's getting 6 years in jail. Even the judge said that. I think he's like, if you think 6 years or 4 years, whatever, isn't a long time in jail, go spend a day there, spend a week there, and see what you think. I mean,
hey, just date somebody for 6 years and see if you want to have sex with them anymore. You don't. It's a long time.
Do you guys think that Trump will pardon any of these people, especially people that are being charged with like process crimes that like if it wasn't for this investigation, they would have never done anything illegal?
I think he's going to pardon some people, not until after the election results. That's
probably not Cohen.
Win or lose. I think if he wins, he'll pardon him. Doesn't matter. He's going on his second term.
I hope he pardons Roger Stone.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, well, what is New York was doing something where they're trying to get the FBI not to charge people with certain crimes because the state of New York has a bar, like a law, saying you can't is a double jeopardy bar where the states can actually try someone for the same crime that the federal government has already tried them for it. But New York has like a law on the book saying you can't do that. So the prosecutors in New York are trying to get the FBI to not charge some of these people with crimes because Trump could pardon them. Whereas if they've already been pled guilty to the crimes and then Trump pardoned them, New York can't go after them because of the law. But if they never if the FBI doesn't charge them or the Justice Department doesn't charge them, then the state of New York could try them. So it's just like such shady dealings.
Yeah, it's seriously, it's like how
the liberals
people do procedural crimes that you need to do this whole fucking like jump through all these hoops to make sure that you can try them in a very specific way just to fuck them over and make sure Trump can't pardon them. It's just insane.
And like the liberals are all going on about that. Trump might have got off of this, but the Southern District of New York is going to get him. They're building their cases, and I'm sure some bullshit, whatever, like campaign finance shit. It's like you don't go to jail for that. It's like a fine, like Obama had.
Obama had like 50 of them. So did Hillary. They both had incredible, like any number of campaign violations. I mean, look. AOC has had more campaign violations and is probably in more trouble than Trump will ever be for that shady shit she's pulled with her campaign manager and whatever else, like writing checks directly to his company that are supposed to be for campaign funding.
Rico, could he just avoid New York?
Like
the state, like will they like drag him to New York State for trial?
Trump just goes outside the state and starts wagging his dick across the border at him.
I mean, if he is not charged with any federal crimes, but then New York State wants to charge him with shit, can he just like not go to New York State again?
Well, I suppose if they could put in for an extradition, if they could charge him and then he doesn't show up for court, they can, put out a warrant
So they want like another state's police to arrest him and bring him there? Is that how it works? I don't know.
Well, generally, like if you're just an average person and you get, like, say I got arrested in New Orleans for public intoxication and then I didn't show up to court, they would put out a warrant for me and no other state would go actively looking for me. But if I was picked up on, say speeding or something and they looked at my info, like, oh, you got a warrant in New Orleans, they'll hold you and then eventually they'll transfer you. With Trump, it's a little easier because he's pretty famous. He can't hide anywhere. So if he gets arrested, or not even arrested, like someone could just take him in. He can't really avoid it.
He's got to go to like the reddest state, and hopefully they'll like be like a sanctuary city for Trump.
Where's he most popular?
I don't know.
Anywhere?
West Virginia? I don't know. Yeah. By the way, one thing I wanted to bring up too is that it's like people seem to overlook the fact that this whole investigation has come up with jack shit, despite the fact that it had all of like the most Democrat-leaning investigators they could find. Like Peter Strzok was on it, right? Wasn't he? Was like a part of the team at some point?
Yeah.
And so it's like you've got this guy who was part of the initial fuck Trump movement and in the FBI, and now he's working on this report, and they still can't find anything. And it was also like a number of like people that were Hillary Clinton backers and all sorts of like lawyers in league with it. It's like if these people can't come up with something or invent something out of thin air, then there can't be anything there.
I mean, they had like the FBI, U.S. intelligence, British intelligence, the Kremlin, all these people, all these sources.
Kim Jong-un's calling in. Hey, you were looking for dirt on Trump? I got some dirt on Trump.
Where's John Brennan's Twitter account? I mean, I thought he was going down. All the people that always tweeted, the walls are closing in. It's like, you're the dumbest.
Oh, man, I want him to go to jail so bad, almost more than anyone.
How did people at
Right.
CNN, by the way, is anyone going to be fired at any of these media outlets?
They have no
No.
credibility. The only people that no one watches CNN. I think they're only on the air because they pay
It's airports,
they
that's
literally
it.
pay airports and hotels to have them on.
I watched on Friday night. I was watching CNN and MSNBC. I just wanted to see like their faces crumble, and it was beautiful. Did you guys see Rachel Maddow? Like,
Did she break down like Small Wonder where there's sparks coming out of her?
she was like on the verge of tears. She might have actually been crying. Some lady posted a video of her like all close up.
Did they play that Boys
on
Don't Cry
Twitter?
song?
And the lady in the background, she's like, "Oh my God, she's crying!" and Twitter banned her account.
What? What?
Yeah,
Could
for
you say
posting a
Rachel
video of Rachel Maddow on air. It looked like she might have been crying. This lady's like, "Oh my God, she's crying," and her account got banned.
So she probably cried when Trump was elected in 2016. She cried on Friday when Trump wasn't determined to have committed collusion, and she's really going to cry in 2020.
Oh God, yeah.
This is the biggest conspiracy that's ever like happened in America. Like 50% of the American population believe this nonsense.
Talking about conspiracy. Yeah, between the GPS document, Obama spying on the Trump campaign, the whole move by Rosenstein and McCabe talking about using the 25th element potentially to remove Trump.
Amendment, you mean?
Investigation.
Did you say 25th element?
Biggest conspiracy that's been proven true. It's a conspiracy against the president. We saw it play out in mainstream media as this is going on. Like this shit, your tinfoil hat's not cool enough. We need tinfoil bodysuits now. Wear them all the time because all the conspiracies are true.
Dude, is the 25th element like the fifth element?
Oh, did I say element? I love that movie.
It's the sequel. Mila Jovovich's still hot. I don't know.
Oh, she is still hot. She's not as hot as she was in that movie, though. And Bruce Willis is definitely not as good looking. he looks like some sort of human thumbnail.
I feel like they both look the same. I don't know.
Like they look like the same person now? That's not good for either of them.
No.
They do not look the same. You're insane.
So one last thing I want to say about this whole Trump-Russia thing is that, all right, so we all know it really happened. Like, I don't think Russia hacked the DNC. Like, we know that the files were exfiltrated.
No, Seth
like,
Rich did it before they shot him in the back of the head.
seconds or something. It was an insider putting on a thumb drive. But what Russia did do, they like talked about in the what they put in the letter about like social media. They spent a couple $1,000s on ads and shit.
Oh yeah, they said I was reading USA Today article by the way. And they were like, Russia had an elaborate hacking operation, leaking documents, and also abusing social media. And I'm like, what are you fucking talking about?
They weren't all like anti-Hillary, pro-Trump either. What they really wanted was to sow discord in America. And the news media, the Democratic Party did what Russia, like more than they could have ever imagined from their like couple $1,000 investment. Like,
I know.
Holy shit.
The return on this investment was astronomical.
Talk about giving our enemy exactly what they want.
It's like putting
want.
$100 in roulette. You're like, you just hit the 35-1 odds, man. You're rich now. Go.
It's the same thing. That's what Russia wanted, and that's what they're giving them. It's just like with the New Zealand shooter. He wanted them to like ban guns, crack down on free speech, to sow discord, get like a civil war started in America. And so New Zealand do.
It works.
Oh, let's ban guns. I
couldn't believe when I read that was his goal. No, I think people are like happy. They're like, oh well, that's it's all's well that ends well because we got guns banned.
Yeah.
I mean, Russia won, the New Zealand shooter won. Like they get exactly what they want.
Let's talk about that shit.
Thanks, media.
Any other final statements on the Mueller stuff? Because I want to talk about the New Zealand.
I'm sure there'll be more to talk about when they actually release the report. But as of now, I think we covered it.
All right, good. Well, let's then talk about the New Zealand shooter because it's like the worst. Everything that New Zealand's doing is the playbook out of just like fascist authoritarianism to the nth degree. It's embarrassing, and it's what everybody should look over there and be like, this is what could happen to us, and this is why we can't give even an inch to these people. I mean, first, censoring the video is absolutely fucking ridiculous. I mean, this is a public forum, a video that's made available in public. The truth is in the video, and not only that, but they blanket removed the manifesto from the internet. I mean, you cannot fucking find it unless you downloaded it early. It's almost impossible to even find his manifesto to find out what the guy said or why he did it. So you've got rampant censorship from a governmental level, and you got jail time if you're in possession of a publicly shared fucking video. 10 years in jail is what they're threatening people with. And then on top of that, now they move in the most reactionary possible sense of the word to take away all semi-automatic rifles in New Zealand. And by the way, I think this was like last week, they said everybody had to turn in their weapons. I think 37 people is the total count out of the 1.2 million people that have guns in New Zealand that have actually done it. So, I mean...
So what do they do now? They're going to go and forcibly take them from the other people, kill them?
Well, that's the question. You're turning a 1.2 million people into criminals.
So apparently they're doing a gun buyback, which is going to cost a shitload of money. There's what did you say? Like 1.5 million guns?
It's like $10,000 a gun they're going to give. Yeah, I would turn my shit in and buy like twice as many guns.
Yes.
So it's going to cost a ton of money, and then apparently, so after this grace period or whatever, if you're caught with one of the banned weapons, the fine and sentence is actually less than you would get for watching the video.
Really?
Still substantial, but not as substantial as watching the video.
That is fucking ridiculous.
I wonder why they don't want you to see the video. One thing that I was thinking, I saw the video like when this all happened. Like, it was late at night. I was up in bed scrolling through Twitter on my phone, and people start talking about this. I'm like, what? So I clicked on the link, watched it. It's awful. Fast forwarded through some of it, after a while I kind of get the gist. But then I start seeing things like people are like, it took the cops 36 minutes to get there. And then people are like, that's not true. It took them 6 minutes to respond. And I'm like, I don't think so. I watched a 17-minute video of this guy shooting. No cops
he went
there.
To 2 different mosques. So maybe he went to one. And then
I'm like, there was no 6-minute response time. I think part of why they don't want this out is because the government couldn't do anything. They weren't there to protect you. They're not going to do anything for you. It's an embarrassment. And it's like, we have 50 defenseless people getting killed. So let's make more people defenseless.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, wouldn't you want someone, if you're in that mosque, you're like, God, I hope someone is a concealed weapons carrier.
Yeah. Well, they only stopped him because some dude tackled him and wrestled the gun away and started fucking shooting at him. And then the guy ran.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you want somebody there with a gun. I mean, whether or not, shit, I'd be fine with every church just having, the Bibles get tucked in under the pews. Put some guns in there.
Dude, it was so weird. This guy was so like talking to the camera, matter of fact about everything. It was like, holy shit. How, unless you've done shit like this before, how could you be so calm and cool and what the fuck? I mean, I'm not suggesting he did something like this before, but if not, he's fucking a psychopath and clearly.
Well, but I mean, goes without saying. But I mean, what do you think of the whole thing too, where it's like, people are trying to demonize 4chan and 8chan because I guess he spent a lot of time on those outlets, which I worry now that they're going to get deplatformed, as we saw with some of these like Gab and all these other places that they take the actual servers off and refuse to host them anymore, which would be bullshit because
New Zealand's blocked them.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
And several other websites.
Which is fucking, again, this is fucking China-like censorship, blocking access to websites and trying to control information. Because I understand 8chan's got some undesirable things on it, but at the same time, some of the greatest things in life have come out of 4chan. Some of the funniest things have come out of 4chan. So it's like, you got to take the bad with the good, but that's fucking freedom, man. If you have free speech, you're going to have some shitty shit and you can have good shit. And you can't just start cracking down on everything because one nutball. I mean, this is the perfect example of one fucking nutty asshole. I mean, when's the last time New Zealand had a mass shooting or a mass anything? I can't even think of one.
Yeah.
He wasn't from New Zealand.
Time it happens, they're like, guns are banned, internet is censored, no videos are allowed. It's just fucking crazy.
He wasn't from New Zealand, though. And did you see the dude? He had been traveling. He was in Israel, North Korea, 10 other freaking places.
There's a lot of conspiracies around this, shockingly. There was something I read that he was encamped with ISIS, but that doesn't sound like it's true.
I mean, he was saying, a lot of the stuff he said in his manifesto stuff, Candace Owens was the biggest inspiration to me.
Trolling.
Yeah, really, he is. But it did seem clear, though, that he wants to start conflict between the factions.
Well, he was talking about, one of the things the manifesto was saying was he literally wanted to try to instigate a civil war in America by having them take away guns. And that's, really, if there's a couple of things that would start a civil war in America, that would be one of them. Trying to take away people's guns. Yeah. I legitimately think, Americans who own guns and are proud to do that are not going to give up their firearms. And if they try to take them, then you would actually have armed conflict.
Yeah, I didn't, Rico. I was trying not to get conspiratorial about this.
Go for it. Who cares? This is a drinking episode, except for Rico.
And
Rico,
you know,
chug some NyQuil. Get some robo tripping going on.
I don't think I'm not saying I think there's a conspiracy or anything, but just some things that made me go like, huh, that's weird.
Yeah.
I guess like in Christchurch, and I don't know, it was like 2011, 2012 or something. Apparently there was an earthquake and some part of a building or a bridge or something like fell on this van and like killed a dude. And then when they like went in, he was like a Mossad agent, and they like uncovered this big like Mossad ring operating there. So it's like,
that's church?
No, Christchurch is the name of the town in New Zealand.
Oh, that's not a big town.
By the way, did this guy specifically go to a place called Christchurch to shoot up Muslims? Just because of the name?
I mean, if you want to get to that conspiracy level.
I mean, that's just weird on its own, right? Like, it's a little on the nose there, guy. If you're going to be killing Muslims somewhere, you go to a place called Christchurch.
They like to use a lot of symbolism for these kind of events.
It certainly seems that way.
But it was also weird that the New Zealand police were having a like mass shooter drill that day, and that would have taken them even longer to get there, I guess, if they weren't already doing that. Well, and it seems like all these things happened during like training exercises for like 9/11 and a bunch of so many of them.
Well, by the way, do you see that weird story where people were, I haven't read enough of it, but people were talking about and sharing this story about a live shooter drill they did with the teachers at a school, and they were whining because they got shot with airsoft pellets, and people were like, I can't believe they shot these teachers, and they had bruises. It's like, fucking man up. Who cares? You got shot with a pellet gun.
I had
How big of a bitch are you?
I had the same reaction. Like, we were posting on the forum, people were like, this is terrible. This is so wrong. They're training them to be like whatever. And I'm like, come on, don't be a pussy. This is this is so funny.
It really is. And also it's like, look, if we're advocating that, I'm fine with them having drills like this. I said a piece of fucking lint fall off my forehead. That was interesting. Wonder how long that's been there. Sitting in my eyebrows all day. But if you're going to have these things happen, I'm fine with people prepping for them in schools. I'd rather have them be prepared and wary of them happening. Of course, the best thing would just be to give them guns and prepare them that way. But yeah, if you're going to have a drill, maybe it's good that you have people shooting rounds at you. So you shit, maybe you learn to dodge. Maybe you figure out where cover is so you're not getting hit with pellets in the dick.
We had active shooter drills in my work, and I think it would have been more fun if they shot at us and stuff.
Yeah, right. Makes it more realistic.
Like, to me, it was just like a pain in the ass to me. But if they're doing that, I would have had a good time.
This guy was taken alive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
And do you remember originally they said they arrested like 3 other people too, like 2 men and women. Now they're like, no, it was just the one guy.
Yeah. It must have sucked. If you actually need those people, you're like, I literally just wanted to go out and get a pack of cigarettes, maybe some pixie sticks.
Unless this was a bigger conspiracy.
Probably they arrested the people that were working for the government just as a cover. It's like when the cops go in and they arrest the cop that's undercover to make sure that that it's like, wink, wink, he's not a cop. We're going to throw his guy in jail. Those are probably the people on the inside working for the government that set this whole thing up to get rid of guns.
I honestly, I don't think this is a conspiracy. I'm just so used to being lied to about everything by the authorities that I'm just suspicious of everything that happens.
You sound like Alex Jones on Rogan.
Yeah, they did have a lot of legislation ready to go. I don't think it was false or a fake attack either. But it's like, it almost seems like, they're not that disappointed that it happened because they wanted to go this route.
Yeah, it was shocking how fast that got passed. They're like, it was like 2 days later. You're like, what the what? That's about reactionary. Like, no legislation should be able to be passed in 2 fucking days like that, by the way, period.
Yeah. I was trying to find if there's a New Zealand Bill of Rights, and I'm probably just looking in the wrong place. It seems like a lot of the stuff is general, and I'm sure it's not a constitution like
the Constitution. Yeah, you can do what you like unless we tell you can't, period.
Well, I guess that's what it is, because it seems like the free speech is quite easily abridged.
Yeah, that clearly cannot be a constitutional right that they have.
Yeah, the fact that you can't watch a video, I had no interest in watching the video. I don't want to.
Yeah, I thought twice about it, but I kind of like to see like what are we up against in society, like what's happening, and I don't know. It's weird. Like seeing things is one thing, but I remember like in our not basic training, but like army, like job school after that. They made us watch a video like Al Qaeda, like cutting some dude's reporter's like head off.
Yeah, exactly.
It was the visual isn't that bad, but the sound like scarred me, like, stuck with me, like haunts my dreams. It sounded like a stuck pig or something. It was awful.
Yeah, it was horrible. I watched that same video, and I remember the visceral. I mean, it was grotesque watching it too. Just like the shit dangling out of the head was disgusting.
They should probably do that to mass shooters. I think you'd have a lot of shootings. Beheading them with a saw. You need a good deterrent, and getting these people's names in the press is exactly what they want. They want some kind of infamy, but I don't think anyone wants their head chopped off or sawed off with a rusty saw. So
it's interesting. I kind of agree. I think there are some crimes that deserve death and painful, torturous death, but I'm against the death penalty because I don't trust the government to decide what crimes that should be and not to kill an innocent person. So I'd rather people be armed and shit like this goes down. You finish it and execute them right there on the spot.
Yeah,
no question, no doubts.
Maybe you have a jury of 24 of your peers instead of 12.
Well, no, I mean like if he's there shooting and you
I know.
kill him.
Yeah.
Don't most Americans
not get killed? That's what I don't get. If you're there, somebody managed to take him down. If I was there, maybe this is just me and like, psychosis, but I'm going to sound like Mark Wahlberg. If I was on the plane on 9/11, I would have taken him down. Fucking remember that?
You think you just punch them till your hand
right?
broke off.
You got a mob of people. Once the guy's down, you would think they would. If I was there, I would rip into him like a fucking jackal. I'd be like tearing his eyes out of his head.
You have to. Like one thing I noticed in the video, he shot like a bunch of people. They were like crowded in a corner, and they like left was do something else. He came back in. It was just kind of standing there, and those bodies in the corner. If anybody's pretending to be dead, he's shot into those bodies a bunch of time to make sure. So you can't just like lay there pretend you're dead. You've got to do something.
Mass shooters are not bears. People need to realize that.
If somebody like threatens violence against you, the only response is like extreme violence fast.
Right. Yeah, that's what. And it's like I don't know if they teach these things at the drills or not, but we talked about this before. If there's a mass shooter, the best thing you could possibly do is just swarm him en masse, get to him as fast as you can, like a zombie horde. It's like a Z Nation. Charge him. Try to get to him as quick as you can, everybody, and then maybe 2 or 3 you get shot, but you won't have 50 people getting fucking shot because you're on him and you're on top of the situation before it can escalate.
We need a nation of honey badgers, which is why I want the Libertarian Party to change their animal to the honey badger. If anybody hasn't signed the petition yet.
I signed it.
And if you're at the LNC in 2020, we're gonna get this thing done.
All right. Any other comments on New Zealand? Otherwise, we'll take a quick break and then we'll come back in and talk about some of our other topics. Guess not. All right. We'll be right back. We don't rise to the level of our expectations. We fall to the level of our training. Those epic words from Archilochus can sum up your ability to succeed or fail in business. I want to recommend Conversation Mat Time to our listeners as a way to hone your one-on-one conversation skills in a role-playing session that can help take you to the next level. During 25-minute sessions, you'll work through the best way to approach that raise, that interview, or that relationship with a practice professional that will provide the confidence and experience you need to get paid what you're worth or take that interpersonal risk you've never been able to conquer. Just like in jiu-jitsu, the difference between a novice and a black belt is mat time. Train to win. Visit conversationmattime.com and take advantage of a free 15-minute consultation just for listeners of this show. Okay, we are back with more Libertarians and Living Rooms Drinking Liquor, Electric Libertyland edition. And a couple things I want to talk about here as we come back in. Number one, I'll give you guys the option. Would you rather talk about New Jersey banning cashless stores or talk about the United States bombing libertarian fantasy land according to progressive Somalia? I'll leave it up to you to choose. Just start talking about one of them. Go, Rico.
I don't think the drone bombing is anything new, unfortunately. That's my biggest criticism of Trump is he only seems to have escalated the bombings.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're escalated, but they sure haven't slowed down. and it's more garbage from the Pentagon. They said they hadn't killed any civilians. Really? You're just dropping hundreds and hundreds of bombs, but they're just perfectly placed. Everyone.
We've been blowing up coconuts and terrorists, and that's it.
You know, if you're like a teenage male, they consider, you're probably a militant. Like, you know,
Yeah, right.
Unless you're like clearly like a 5-year-old or a woman, that you don't count as a civilian.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's their accounting. So sure.
Well, it's great too that they're like, oh, we're no longer going to report any sort of drone casualties or any stats and statistics from one of these drone campaigns. So now, as to before, where we had the figures they'd released, so we could say if they denied having murdered civilians from AFRICOM, we could go, oh, well, there's, you guys are reporting 10 civilian deaths. Now, of course, absolutely no, what's the word I'm looking for? No, I can't fucking think of it.
I don't know where you're going.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, you're being responsible for your
No accountability.
Accountability! Rico, give that man a prize. Okay. Thank you, Rico. Christ.
Like, why are they bombing?
You're the one to not be able to remember words with your cold-addled brain, but here I am, just stupid.
So I heard, I don't know if it was Somalia or some other African country, and Trump, I guess, from what I hear, was like, what the hell are we even doing there anyways? Like, it's ridiculous. We shouldn't have troops there. And Mattis is like, we're there so that a bomb doesn't go off in Times Square. And Trump, to his credit, it's like, you could just say that about anywhere.
Right, yeah, anywhere at all times.
But then I guess Mattis is like, well, listen, if we pull out and anything happens, we're blaming this all on you.
No, that's nice of him.
Glad he's gone.
Well, it's like any of these places. These people are the people that were murdering over there, for the most part, very poor. It's like even to get a plane ticket to try to come over to commit a terrorist act is probably so far beyond any of their collective means that it's pointless to even go and fight them. Like we're fighting Al-Shabaab over there, right? Or Al-Shabaab.
I don't know, but at least now when people tell libertarians to go move to Somalia, I'd be like, what? So the U.S. government can bomb us?
Right, yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. I can't go there anymore. Fucking progressives. Like, yeah, go to move to Somalia. Well, I would if not for you guys being completely for the war establishment. Gave up all your fucking progressive values in that regard.
So what do you guys think? I mean, Trump has, clearly there's been way more civilian casualties in all these theaters. Yeah. But on the other side of his mouth, he's saying he wants to leave Syria, wants to pull troops out of Afghanistan, all this stuff. What's happening? Why does he have all these neocons? And one thing I thought was interesting, I think it was on Friday. So a few days before that, the Treasury Department put new sanctions on North Korea. Yeah. And then Friday, Trump's like, nope, no sanctions.
Yeah,
it seems like there's a real struggle between him and the administration, which means why the fuck is he putting these people?
I didn't realize. I saw that same thing, and I was like, wait a minute. How does the Treasury Department have the authority to do that?
That's how it works. They work with the intel community to decide what should be done in pursuing of our stated goals and things. And
they have the autonomy to do that. It seems mind-blowing. If there's sanctions, something should go through a elected official.
I like that, Treasury Department, what we're responsible for, it just says it's a placard on the wall. It says two things: making sure people still use fucking pennies and destroying countries via sanctions. Those are the two things you got to memorize. Just in regards to, and it is surprising they have that amount of power, but just in regards to Trump's appointing neocons and the struggle within the thing, I swear, I don't know if it's because he actually believes in these people's point of view, or if it's literally just him putting people in positions that he knows he can undermine to make himself look better. Like with the North Korea thing, that was bizarre. And, he tweeted out, I don't know if he's actually removed the sanctions or not, but he seems to be legislating by a tweet. And for him to reverse it within a day and shocking everybody, they said, the people in the administration were like, we didn't see that coming. We didn't tell us beforehand. So I wonder if he does it literally as fuck it, I'll just use it as a PR stunt. I'll look better because now I'm the good guy. And kind of the whole way he negotiates all the time is, I got these psychos over here. They want to do X. I'm going to let them do this to scare you, and then I'm going to pull it back and be the good guy.
Maybe. It reminds me kind of Bolton and Rubio and all these people, it seems like they really want to start a war in Venezuela. Justin Raimondo, who posts a lot of stuff in anti-war, I was surprised to see an article that he wrote where he thinks that Trump was trying to let them like try to do this and fail at it. Like this whole thing seems to be failing, like their own Bay of Pigs, just to be like, look at these neocon fools.
That
But
would be, I don't know, that would be giving Trump even, I try to give him some credit sometimes for these.
Yeah, I mean, it was a stretch for me too.
I'm surprised Raimondo is saying that.
I hope it's true, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I should give him more credit. I mean, from what I understand, he's like that, not that good of a real estate guy, but he became the most famous one. Then he decides to do TV and has like the biggest reality TV star. Then he's like, I'm going to be president of the United States, and wins and beats out like the Clintons and the Bushes.
And emerges victorious versus the entire establishment and the deep state, by the way.
Yeah. Maybe I don't know.
Versus the deep state. JFK didn't. You know that much.
I think Trump's positions are more anti-war just because of the older tweets when Obama was in office.
Yeah.
Talking about the, Iraq involvement in Afghanistan. And that's what he campaigned on most consistently. You know, a lot of his things were not that consistent overall, but he seems to have been more consistently anti-intervention than pro-intervention. I think he has been pro-intervention in Venezuela, though. I don't really buy that whole argument that he's letting Rubio fail, but it's good to see it fail.
One thing that's interesting, like he hated Obama. And criticize him all the time.
Well, he hated him so much that he became president just because Obama at that correspondence center.
That's right.
That's the power of spite.
When the generals were trying to persuade Obama to do the surge, Trump was like, "No, you shouldn't. Like, stick to your guns. You're right. They're wrong." And it's like, holy shit, he hates him. He's saying that he's like trying to back Obama. Of course, Obama goes with the generals, everybody, and does the surge and sends way more troops to Iraq.
Oh yeah.
But Trump's been like consistently against that. And it looks like Iraq's going to kick us out soon anyways.
Yeah, I just saw they were making demands that we get out of there, which is awesome. Get us the fuck out of there.
I'm kind of glad that they've got that Iranian influence in there now.
Yep.
Well, with the Treasury Department not seeing him reversing sanctions, don't you think they should have some kind of line of communication? Because it's pretty public that he is negotiating with North Korea.
Well, yeah, the Bolton and Pompeo are probably saying, yeah, do it. Good.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they are, but it just seems like when they say, well, we didn't see his reversal coming, it's like, he's been talking up Kim Jong-un for a year. Trying to get, at least posturing about a deal. So to add more sanctions cuts against what he's been pursuing for over a year. Yeah. So to say you haven't seen it coming, it's like, well, you obviously just don't care what the president's position is on the subject.
By the way, I'm desperate to know what happened at the Hanoi summit that
I'll tell you. That's what I was actually, what I almost interrupted you. What I was going to say was, so North Korea didn't expect Bolton to come, and they were going to make a lot of concessions and things, and Bolton comes in and blows up the whole thing. And he's the same one that ruined the deal that like the Clinton administration had tried to make with North Korea in the past too. This is later after Bush took over.
What was that? What was the Clintons deal that they give $700 million to the Clinton Foundation and they leave?
They would have been platinum members of the Clinton Foundation.
I'm surprised they didn't follow through. They're going to give them light water reactors and stuff. And I think it was even like
Bill Clinton are fucking giving people the.
I think it was even like Dick Cheney's people that were going to build the reactors and get paid for them.
We're high-fiving over our back. Oh yeah, give me a half. All right, my man. Anyway.
But yeah, I mean, if he's trying to like make these neocons fools, I mean, who knows? I mean, he had Jeff Sessions for so long and now he's gone. And Jeff Sessions is not only gone as attorney general, but he's not a senator anymore. And that's awesome.
That is awesome.
If he just wants to bring these people to his administration, like make them fools and then send them on their way so they're no longer what they were before either.
How fucking funny would it be if Trump he picked like all the people he hates and he's like, you're the new attorney general. And then he's like, you're fired. You're back for 2 days and now they're gone at us.
And they're like, okay, I'll give up my Senate.
What is Jeff Sessions now? Is he like running for mayor?
Wasn't Pompeo in the Senate?
Back in the Ku Klux Klan. He's out lighting crosses.
Fuck Jeff Sessions.
I bet he's probably smoking weed. Finally.
Yeah, right. How great would it be if Jeff Sessions was actually running a drug ring right now? Like that guy, like that San Francisco, the Asian Muslim.
With the guns, yeah.
Yeah, he was the gun. He's like the biggest anti-gun advocate. He's running guns for the triad. Jeff Sessions is the same guy. He's like in Yeah, was that the Murder Mountain? He's like running Murder Mountain. Awesome. All right, let's talk about two more things. Number one, I did hear on the Felony Friday LILDL show that they did that they were calling for a Lions of Liberty takeover. Not that we'll have our own cruise to Alaska because we wanted to do that, but just that we go and take over Tom Woods' cruise, which I think we could do. I think we've got the personnel. I think Howie's got the tactical military skills that we can take over Tom's ship, print up our own banners, and then have fun in Alaska and find out once and for all if Hitler's there and aliens are in Alaska.
No, see, the problem with that is it's going to have to make a U-turn, and we're going to have to go to the Antarctica because that's where the original cruise is.
Yeah, we had that plan. And also, isn't the Contra cruise in like July or August or something?
Yeah, I think it's too soon.
Like, we're going to Pork Fest. I'd love to take over this cruise and just pirate it.
Maybe next year.
No time. It reminds me of that. There's some movie where the guy's, it's fucking The Princess Bride, where it's like, I'd love to take over whatever, but I've got my wedding to plan. I've got my wife to murder, children to blame for it. I'm swamped.
Yep.
Same shit. All right. Well, then, I guess.
Wait. On that note, though, have you guys seen the Dark Tom Woods memes going around?
Yeah, they're pretty funny.
I love it.
It's one from the lost episode. Well, you go.
So, Rico, Mark was on the Fagcast, and they accidentally
don't promote those bastards on my show. They haven't invited me on yet.
They accidentally
stealing all our best ideas.
They accidentally deleted the episode, but for some reason, this idea came about that there's Tom Woods and then Dark Tom Woods that like does all this nefarious shit, like deleting young podcasters like episodes and things.
It's like a Star Trek episode where he's got the beard. That's like, there's Spock and then there's
the Bizarro.
Yeah, it's like Bizarro, Dark Tom Woods.
All the memes, it's a split screen. It's first like regular Tom Woods, the second is like Tom Woods with the beard and he's like glowing like laser eyes. It's like
I'll have to check it out. I haven't heard that episode though.
It
got deleted. Dark Time was deleted.
Yep, that's part of the story. That's pretty much the most important part of the story.
And Tom Woods even like responded to some of these. He's like, "That's right, you better not cross me."
All right, let's see. Should we wrap the show here or talk about cashless stores in New Jersey, and then, or should we save cashless Jersey stores for a bonus episode and wrap this shit right here?
Let's wrap it and do a short bonus.
Well, there you go.
We owe the pride something,
guys. That's it. That's going to wrap up this LILDL, ELL. Say that 3 times fast. No.
No. Not going to do
All
it.
Right. Closing remarks, gentlemen. Rico, go ahead.
You're welcome for being on this podcast while sick and during March Madness.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, where can people find your Hong Schlong dildo line? Is that Target?
That's hongschlongdildoline.com.
If it actually has the recipe on it, I'll buy one.
Yeah. That's going to be a new addition, the Hong Schlong Bloody Mary line.
And you can use it to stir, not only drink out of it, you can use it to stir a giant Bloody Mary or drink out of it like a horse.
So when we go to Vegas and on Memorial Day, we're going to be lounging in the lazy river drinking Hong Schlong Bloody Mary.
Awesome. How are you going?
To where?
Vegas in May, baby. Memorial Day weekend.
Probably not.
Oh, weak, Howie. All right, Howie, final words.
I'm going to close the show with a poem written by one Beto O'Rourke.
Is this a real poem?
Yes, this is really written by Beto O'Rourke.
I think I know where you're going.
I need a butt shine right now. You are holy, O sacred cow. I thirst for you. Provide milk. Buff my balls. Love the cow. Good fortune for those that do. Love me. Breathe my feet. The cow has risen. Wax my ass. Scrub my balls. The cow has risen. Provide milk. That's the Song of the Cow, a poem by Beto O'Rourke.
Is that from the hacking group?
I probably related to that, yeah.
Yeah, right. What was the name of that group that he was a hacker?
I think it was like the Cult of the Dead Cow or something. So
yeah, right. The Cult of the Cow. Yeah, and I love that reporter sat on that story, by the way, for like fucking months, and he's like defending it. That he sat on the story until after Beto O'Rourke got elected or after the election happened. What a dick.
Dude, the best thing to like all the Democratic candidates are so ridiculous. The best thing I've seen is that video of Michael from The Office as like.
Oh, that was
candidate.
Awesome.
If you haven't put that in the show notes with the margarita or the Bloody Mary recipe.
All right, I'm going to hit note to remember that. I don't know where I'm going to write it down. I have no things coming in. I'll write Michael Democrats. All right, and then my final words is that I want to remind you all that we now have fucking coffee. So you can order it. It's called the Morning Roar from Anarcho Coffee, guys. I will link to it in the show notes. Or, shit, what is it? I think it's just lionsofliberty.com/coffee. I hope. That would be the most logical link. I probably should have prepared for this before the show. Anyway, we got coffee. So when you're listening to me yell at you in the morning and flub people's names and mispronounce PewDiePie, what the fuck's his name?
That's right.
Is it PewDiePie?
Yeah, that's right.
Yay, I did it. Look at that. No problem.
The only thing you said wrong this episode, I don't know how to say either.
What?
Worcestershire sauce.
I say, us Pennsylvania say Worcestershire.
The town in Boston's called like Worcester or something. I don't know. It's so confusing.
We say, I was looking at, they actually have a breakdown I was reading one day. I don't know why, I had too much time on my hands. I read a breakdown of dialectics or pronunciations of Worcestershire, depending on what area you are of the country. And there are like 15 different pronunciations.
I don't know what's right, so I didn't call you on it.
See,
you're pretty good.
Better than any of our media, Howie. If you don't know you're fucking right, don't say anything and don't call people out. And that's my final statement. So, gentlemen, thank you for joining me on this inaugural, well, I guess we did one of these before, but rotational LILDL. And we will be doing these once a month. I don't know if I'll probably mix it up a bit, have some different guests on each time, but I wanted to complete the circle of lions for this first one. So, gentlemen, thank you for joining me. Sick Rico and Howie, the Godfather Snowden. So we are going to move on to our bonus show. I would remind all of you to make sure to listen to Mark Claire on Mondays with his in-depth interviews with leaders of the libertarian movement, and also one Justin Amash. You missed that. It was a great interview. Also, John Odermatt with Felony Fridays, diving into the ironically named justice system that we see so many horrible acts perpetrated in. And, that's going to do it, guys. So for me, Brian McWilliams, from the boys here, from the Lions of Liberty and from Electric Libertyland, always stay plugged into Liberty.